A fully loaded McDonnell Douglas MD-11 is landing, but the next second, after the accident, rescuers rushed to the scene. Although the fire was quickly extinguished, 2 pilots unfortunately perished. How did this air disaster happen? Let's revisit the crisis scene. On March 23, 2009, FedEx Flight 80 from Guangzhou to Tokyo was on an MD-11 freighter, a stretch version of the DC-10, an ideal choice for the cargo industry. The co-pilot piloting the aircraft was 49-year-old Anthony Pino. Captain Kevin Morris was monitoring the instruments. By this time, the aircraft was near Narita Airport and, barring accidents, they were supposed to land in 7 minutes. At that moment, air traffic control suddenly informed them of a strong crosswind at the airport, advising them to land cautiously. To counteract the effects of the wind, the captain decided to land at a speed of 300 kilometers per hour. Once everything was ready, the co-pilot took control for the landing, leading to the scene at the beginning. After the accident, investigators immediately began to look into the cause. Surveillance footage from the airport showed the plane bounced on landing, a phenomenon very similar to an accident that happened in New York 12 years earlier. On July 3, 1997, FedEx Flight 14 bounced upon landing at Newark Airport, causing the right wing to strike the ground and ignite a large fire. Fortunately, no fatalities resulted from that accident. Subsequent investigations revealed that to save fuel, the designers of the MD-11 made the tail very small, which made the aircraft prone to pitch up. The solution was to fly faster to ensure greater airflow, thus the MD-11's landing speed had to be at least 280 kilometers per hour. This speed is second only to fighter jets when landing. Ultimately, the investigation team deemed pilot error as the main cause of the accident. When the aircraft bounced on the first landing attempt, the pilot should have opted to go around instead of pushing the nose down. The investigation team later recommended more rigorous training for MD-11 pilots, especially concerning the aircraft's tendency to bounce upon landing. Could the flight crash be a repeat of FedEx Flight 14? To determine how FedEx Flight 80 crashed, investigators listened to the cockpit voice recordings, where a rapid altitude call-out caught their attention. They discovered that the voice call-outs were much faster than normal. This indicated that the airplane was descending too quickly upon landing. Why couldn't the crew slow it down? After careful study of FedEx Flight 80's flight data, investigators found that normally, at 30 feet above ground, the pilot should pull back on the control yoke to level the plane. Doing this would not only halve the speed, but also enable a smooth touchdown. However, in this incident, the co-pilot began pulling back only 20 feet from the ground. As a result, the nose hadn't fully lifted before the airplane touched down, which also explained the rapid descent. Why did the crew make such an error? To find the answer, investigators meticulously reviewed the profiles of both pilots. The records showed that Captain Mosley, before joining FedEx, was an F-4 fighter pilot for the United States Marine Corps. Although he had extensive flying experience, he had taken a long leave for back pain and had only recently returned to work. The first officer, Pino, had served as a C-5 transport pilot in the US Air Force for 23 years and was also quite experienced. However, in the past 2.5 years, he had only completed 73 landings, averaging just 2.5 per month. For a cargo pilot, this number of landings is pitifully low. Okay. And Captain was a bad best? There certainly must be more to that. Ladies and gentlemen, to uncover the hidden truth behind the accident, investigators listened to the cockpit recordings again. Gone. How many years? 4. Especially, the recordings clearly indicated that both of them were very tired. The investigative team immediately reviewed their recent days. After a journey of several days, it was discovered that the total flight duration of 2 people was as long as 38 hours, flying nearly 17,700 kilometers across 8 time zones. In the past 24 hours, the captain has only slept for 4 hours and 38 minutes, and the co-pilot even less, just 3 hours and 17 minutes. Despite the flight schedule indicating they had sufficient rest time, this concerns personal space that an airline cannot forcefully regulate. Fatigue can impair performance and slow reaction times. In this accident, the co-pilot's reaction to flatten the plane was only 0.7 seconds slower than usual. But it was this 0.7 second delay that led to their demise in the crash. While the cause was identified, one last question remains. Why, when the plane bounced, did the co-pilot not choose to go around but continue to push the nose down? Investigators suspect the cause might be related to the elongated fuselage of the McDonnell Douglas stretch. To test this hypothesis, the investigation team conducted a real-life simulation and found that when the aircraft bounced, the nose did not lift, but instead pointed downwards due to the stretched fuselage, coupled with pilot fatigue, resulting in an illusion for the co-pilot that the front landing gear had touched down, leading to the nose being pushed down further, causing the disaster. In the final report, investigators recommended that manufacturers install landing gear ground indication lights in the cockpit and advise pilots to manually control the throttle upon landing to maintain a stable speed. One more crucial point is that during the landing process, if a bounce occurs, pilots must not hesitate to execute a go-around to prevent similar accidents. In conclusion, the enduring wish is that every flight arrives safely.